Hello everyone, Atheist Morph here, once again with my friend Robert Reed. Now I just found this tweet, I like to look at tweets occasionally, that says, as soon as somebody says, I'm not well, I thought I'd respond with, I'm not the sexiest man on the planet, but I didn't get it quite right because their tweet definitely says, I'm not So, and I've said I'm not the. So what I'm going to do now is just say definitively that I am not a genius and I am here with a man who is not a straight shooter and one of the great prides of the atheist community, Robert Reed.
Hey, everybody. That's a good one.
Anyway, Robert, here was something that I think I sent to you that I spotted on Twitter last week.
Yes, that's funny and disgusting all at the same time.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's gross. Because we hit on that last time with that lady saying that she was covered in the blood of Jesus.
Yep.
While hanging around 500 of her closest friends, even though we're in a public health order not to do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Please invite someone to church. I didn't see that bottom part. That's also gross.
It is pretty bad.
Very bad, especially now.
But anyway, after we finished recording last time, we talked about the fact that you often take one for the team and spend a lot of time watching apologists and what they say.
I do.
And so I've got a little potpourri of apologists to show you. Okay. And you can pick on one of them to give your view, or please choose somebody different.
Oh my God, the worst of the worst. The only one that I don't see, which I thought maybe you would leave, is Saitin Bruggencase. Oh my God.
How did I miss that?
He's the worst. The only reason why I have not pushed him in front of a moving city bus is it is currently against the law. He's a horrible human being. Eric Hovind, Jeff Durbin. I mean, I can name a million of them.
So, do you want to? Would you like to pick one from my list, or maybe select another?
William Lane Craig is up on my top left, so why don't we hit him first?
Okay, let's go for William Lane Craig.
Fair enough. So, my problem with all apologists basically is they have zero desire to convey the truth. Their only job is to win an argument, to win a debate. And they will lie, they'll backtrack, they'll use double terms on words. I'm not that kind of atheist. I can't speak for all of us, but I'm not the kind of atheist that's trying to separate someone from their Christianity, their faith, or whatever you want to call it. That's on you. So if you need a Jesus to make you a better person, knock yourself out. But when your scientific foundation for a belief in a God gets dunked on, then you need to either rehab your argument or you need to let it go. And he refuses to not use the Kalam cosmological argument. And I've watched many atheists go up against him. But the one that stuck with me was the, what was his name? The Sean Carroll debate. Sean Carroll is a physicist who just so happens to be an atheist. And I'm a rocking chair away from being that old guy who chases old young kids off his yard, so I don't know what all the terms are, but he didn't own them or it wasn't epic. He didn't destroy them. He actually educated the man. And so when William Lane Craig pulled out, the Kalam, and it's always whatever comes to existence has a cause. The universe came to existence, therefore it has a cause. Now that cause has to be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial. And it's the same crap all over. Sean Carroll didn't humiliate him. He educated him and told him as a physicist, this is why everything you're saying is wrong.
I saw that.
You saw that one?
Yeah, I saw that one. And Sean Carroll actually had a video shot by Alan Guth.
Yes, the 4-day Guth-Vilankum theorem, absolutely. And which is okay. And again, believe in God all you want, but when a professional tells you why scientifically you're wrong, then trash that argument. In the next debate, his monkey ass did the exact same thing and pulled out that damn Kalam cosmological argument again. And it's like you were just told by a professional why you're wrong. And you continue to use that argument. And to me, that is just as much lying as stealing someone's money, asking, hey, did you do that? And that person saying, no, I didn't. He's a liar. He's been told why his argument isn't valid, but yet he still holds on to it. So that's why I can't stand that guy.
Yeah,
he knows.
I don't like it when people do that, and I try never to do that myself. So when people ask me for evidence for evolution, one of the things I always used to say was ring species. And then somebody pointed me to an article by Jerry Coyne saying that there are no true ring species. So therefore, I've dropped ring species from my arguments. I don't use it anymore.
Yeah. So when people try and bring evolution up to me, if you want to talk about fighting, I'm your man. I'm a 7th degree black belt. I may not be the best, but I also don't suck. But I'm not an evolutionary biologist. And so when you get on Twitter and someone wants to tell you in 280 characters how they can disprove evolution, my response now is always the same. And you need to present to the scientific community. Quit wasting your time on Twitter, right? So the evolution thing, I don't really get into anymore because it's not my area of speciality. And if you really had that kind of juice, you would be a scientist. You wouldn't be living in your mother's basement typing stuff out on a Commodore 64. So don't talk to me about evolution. I'm no longer interested in that discussion.
I love the tweet that Michael Polkovich puts out every now and again that says that the Nobel Prize this year is not going to be awarded in Sweden because it's being given to 1,500 Twitter users who asked why they're still monkeys.
Absolutely. Can you believe that argument still? This is what I'm saying. They are dishonest. That we wouldn't debate someone who said that storks bring babies. We know how that works, so we don't pay that person any attention. The why are there still monkeys argument has been dunked on so many times, it's almost comical to hear it now. So it's just, again, that's just a level of dishonesty.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And now I'm looking at Frank Turek's face. Another person, if I could, I would push him into moving traffic. My problem with Frank Turek is that he's the definition of liar. And again, lying takes a lot of forms. Pardon me. Lying takes a lot of forms. And it's not just, hey, did you do something? And that person just telling an out-and-out lie. Frank Turek lies by not answering direct questions. And I remember watching him, because again, I hate myself. And so I watched Wretched TV, in which Todd Frill was out, so Frank Turek took over. And Turek's got a script. And one of the things he always likes to use is the Canaanite slaughter. Why is it moral for God to kill the Canaanites? And he likes to pose that as an atheist gotcha question. And he's like, well, an atheist is going to ask you, why is it okay for God to slaughter the Canaanites? Turek's response to his followers, people are going to follow his style of apologetics, is when they ask you that question, don't answer it. Instead, ask the atheist, if there is no God, why is the slaughter bad? And that is a lie. If I'm asking you a direct question, your only job now is to answer it. Don't shift the goalpost. Don't flip it and now try and ask me to justify why slaughtering thousands of people is bad. I'm asking you a question. And his other, because he got kind of a two-prong attack of stupidity, is apparently this man has a PhD, but he likes to pretend he doesn't understand simple concepts. And so again, if I sit here and I tell you as a self-defense teacher, I think raping and molesting is bad, Turek's response will be, well, so what? Why is that bad? Like, because it hurts the person who you're raping or molesting or beating up. Well, so what? Why? If there's no God, why does that matter? And it's like the only time we atheists have to have this discussion on why beating someone up is bad is when we're talking to a Christian. I have never once in my entire life struggled on why it is I should not kick someone's ass instead of helping them across the street. And he's got that two-pronged attack of total avoidance and acting like he doesn't understand simple concepts. It's easy to understand why you should not run over a dog in the middle of the street. But Turek will turn it around and say, well, who cares? Why does that matter if there is no God? And it's like, you're just a liar. And again, put him on my laundry list of people who I would tase openly in the middle of a shopping mall if it wasn't illegal.
A couple of things I've seen from Turek. I've seen him having discussions with atheists. For example, I saw him having one with Cosmic Skeptic. And
yes.
he'll say one thing in that sort of discussion, and then you see videos of him talking to the faithful, and he's not saying the same thing. And that, to me, is a sign of the dishonesty that you're on about.
Absolutely. He's good at it. Fast talking, charismatic. He's good at what he does. He's just good at something that's very, very bad. And he's just a professional liar.
Yeah, I think the other thing you went to was the moral argument. And I never really understood why Christians in particular, well, Muslims as well, why they go to the moral argument when their book is just chock full of God killing people.
Oh, yeah.
It just, beggars belief that they go to the moral argument at all. And to me, morality is completely summed up by the fact that we evolved as a social species. And that's why morality's got better and better and better over time. As you see, if you read books like The Better Angels of Our Nature or something like that, this is the best time to live in.
Oh, yeah. And that's the problem with that argument, in that they have the answer before you ask the question, right? And I can give you a fantastic reason why you should not kick a chihuahua across the living room. Because it sucks. How about that? Why don't we just leave it at that? Pour some beers, have some nachos, and never talk about this topic ever again. But they turn this moral discussion into a 9-hour-long diatribe when 15 seconds should do. But it's because I won't say, oh, well, I shouldn't kick that chihuahua because of God. My answer will never be good enough because it doesn't have their magic bullet of an answer in there.
Yeah. On that one, Robert, I think you and I, if we go back to my opening, you and I are both not a person who would happily kick the butt of anybody who was cruel to an animal.
Would not kick the butt of someone? How about this? I am infinitely more worried about 4-legged animals than 2-legged ones. And yeah, so if you were to kick a dog in front of me, I would not kick your ass in return. How about that?
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one.
Yeah.
Would you, somebody who wasn't on the list there, but you mentioned while we weren't recording, Saiten Bruggencate.
Oh, man, he's the worst. That guy. I would say, how does presuppositional apologetics convert anyone? But obviously it does. It got him, Jeff Durbin, Eric Hovind, and all those other idiots. And in the beginning, it was fun for me because I love puzzles. And it was just one big word game. It was a puzzle. And then you start to realize he's working on like double meanings of like absolutely, and all this other stuff. He is the epitome of a professional liar because, you know what size game reminds me of? There was a game we played when we were kids in the late 70s, and it's STOP. Just spell the word stop. The thing about the game was it's who can hold on to the O sound the longest. So the moment you had to draw a breath and utter the P sound, you lost. So it's STO, however long you can take it, and the first person to draw a breath and say P, lost. That kind of reminds me of presuppositional apologetics because if you look at any of his debates, they all start out the same way, and that is, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? No matter what the debate topic is, he won't talk about it. He always starts off, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? And even if you were to ask someone like me, my response would be, that's a stupid question. It's literally a nonsensical question. His response would be, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know? Well, after about 10 minutes of him repeating that, eventually I'm going to break down and be like, well, yeah, sure. After that, he's got me. Because now it's, I've given up knowledge, whatever the hell that means. Then he'll spend the rest of that debate saying the same fucking thing, and that is, how do you know that? That's not an argument. He's talking about possibility when he should be talking about probability. Could I be wrong? Sure. But the probability of me being wrong about everything I claim to know is so small of a fraction that I've made it to 48 without dying. And so his entire argument is based basically on that 1/1,000,000th of a chance that you can be absolutely wrong about everything you think you know.
But Robert,
no one operates their world like that. Nobody.
But Robert, how do you know you're 48? You could be wrong about that.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Well, how about this? How do I know? One, I don't care how old I am. And two, the model just seems to work. Because when I do the math, for as much as I can know math, the model just works. And again, it's like the moral argument. Can I explain why I don't kick cats without God? Yeah, because it sucks. And if that answer's not good enough for you, then we just can't have this discussion. How do I know I'm 48? Because the mathematical models just work. And if that's not good enough for you, you either need to get to theoretical mathematics or, again, take that shit back to the woodshed and rehab your argument. That should be good enough of an answer. How do you know that? Give me a break.
But we could just be brains in vats.
We could. We absolutely could. And here's the thing about the brain in the vat. You say that, to kill time, because I've been up since yesterday because my leg is killing me. I've just been making videos. And one of them was the Matrix scene, where Neo dodges the bullets in slow motion. Sai's absolutely right. This could be the Matrix. I could be a brain in the vat. I could have been plugged into something just 5 minutes ago and fed the memories of someone who's been on this planet 48 years. It still doesn't matter. There's a pencil over here. If I were to take that pencil and jam it into my ear, I would hurt myself. Even if this is the Matrix, the rules of this reality still apply. So I don't care if this is the ultimate reality, if this is the Matrix or anything else, because the rules, if I go to the store today, and if I do 70 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, the cop's going to pull me over. The rules of this reality still apply. So it doesn't matter if I'm a brain in the vat. Again, he's talking about possibility when the actual argument is probability. And that probability is so low, I don't care.
Do you think Sai ever tries his line of reasoning when he does get pulled over by the cops? And, he says to them, how do you know I was doing 70?
You know what? No, and here's one thing I've learned. And like we talked about the last time, when that couple, their daughter got sick in the middle of the night, and they prayed to Jesus, and Jesus cured their daughter, and I don't care, because they prayed to Jesus while using real-world solutions. Great. I promise you. They keep talking about how we borrow from their worldview. They borrow from ours, because when Sai does 70 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, he doesn't play that philosophical mumbo-jumbo. He takes his ticket, he goes to the county courthouse, he pays his fine. The only time he uses that mumbo-jumbo is when he's on YouTube trying to play philosophical games with college students and stuff like that. He's an asshole.
I think that the whole presuppositionalist line is an attempt to avoid arguing. I think
100%.
I think quite often I watch Talk Heathen, and Eric Murphy will say he's all about meeting people where they're at. Well, to me, where they're at is they actually believe that 2,000 years ago somebody got nailed to a cross and got resurrected. They're not questioning the nature of our reality or talking about the cosmological argument or any of those things. What all of this is a smokescreen to try to avoid us actually meeting them where they're at, which is believing all of this stuff about Jesus Christ with no good evidence whatsoever.
Right. See, that to me, again, that's the very job of Christian apologetics, of hermeneutics. I can talk to a Christian. That's never been an issue. Could I be wrong if there's a God? Yeah, sure, of course I could. Show me and I'll believe. Atheism is not a hatred of a God. There's not wanting to be a God. I just don't believe in one. I could talk to 1,000 Christians right now and go like, yeah, I could be wrong. My faith makes me feel okay. That's great, we can have this discussion. Apologists don't do that. And you're right, they won't meet you in the middle. They're all the way over here, and they refuse to stop smack dab. And so that's why they lie. That's why they pull these word games and double speak and refuse to answer questions, because they don't have the answer. I don't have to work this hard to prove to anyone that my mom is my mom. And if I had to sit here and play this game, you wouldn't believe that this lady is my mom. You'd say I'm lying.
So should we look somewhere else on the list here?
Yeah.
And
the human dartboard.
So now the thing is, Robert.
Please go to Locke.
Yeah, I was going to suggest Locke because I don't think you've been getting worked up enough yet.
I'm actually trying to remain pretty calm here, believe it or not. So Greg Locke feeds into the thing we hit on it last time. Persecution is part of their origin story, right? And when they don't have it, they'll make it up, right? Only in America, where Christianity represents 70+% of the population, you couldn't run for president and not be, or at least say you're a Christian. Only here can you be persecuted and part of the ruling class all at the same time. And that's what Locke provides for them, right? Target wants to allow transgender people to go to the bathroom where they feel comfortable. Now that hurts nobody. And only if you're twisted enough to think that transgender and sexual predator mean the same thing, you've already taken a piss next to a transgender person. You just didn't know it. And so what does Greg Locke do? He goes and tells everyone how Christians are now being persecuted because transgender people can now take a piss wherever they feel comfortable. Someone realizes that in a public high school, you can't have a prayer before a football game. And so like, hey, you got to follow the rules just like everybody else. What does Greg Locke do? He says Christians are now being persecuted. It's like, it's nothing of the sort. You're simply having to follow the same rules that everyone else does. So again, on my list of people who I would tase openly, Greg Locke, because he feeds the persecution complex. And he's a master at it.
He's really a very odious person. I do follow his tweets, and
so do I.
Yeah, and I think it's really
to ourselves.
I think it's really important that we jump all over him when he tweets some of his ridiculous stuff.
I always do, and I will do it. Like I used to chase SJ a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because she didn't do the persecution thing. We need to throw her on the list as well. We need to put her ass on the fire. Greg Locke simply gives the persecution complex. SJ's tweets were dangerous. And so when she would tell, clinically depressed people, if you just pray to Jesus, it'll go away. And like, you need to be called out, because that's a very medically dangerous tweet. And I can't lie, I hit the follow button when it was time to talk about Greg Locke, because when he pulls out the persecution stuff, we all have to hit him over the head with it.
It always worries me when you see Greg Locke, and even SJ to some extent, when you go to the comments under their tweets, obviously people like us are pointing out the flaws in their ways. But if you follow it far enough down, you see loads of amen, 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 amen. And it just drives me nuts. I just think these people are saying ridiculous things. They're saying things that are really odious, and you're saying amen. It just drives me nuts.
I saw a tweet yesterday from one of my followers, and she retweeted a sermon from a person I know she listens to, and it was about homosexuality. And it's the normal BS. It's an abomination. If you keep it up, you're going to go to hell. And, well, we don't hate you. We just hate your... It was just a normal crap. And I can tell that to you, and I can tell just about any normal human being about that. And they'll say that just sounds like dog shit. At this stage of the game, we know homosexuality is as normal as heterosexuality. It's okay. And you're right, I didn't scroll down, but I'm pretty sure if I were to scroll down, look at the comment section of that sermon, everyone would be saying amen, right? Or I was saved from the depths of homosexuality through Jesus Christ. That's the scary part. It's kind of like this COVID thing. I'm not necessarily worried about myself. Being locked in my house isn't an issue. It's when you see the idiots on TV that are, stacked 5,000 people on top of each other protesting. They're the problem. It's not necessarily Greg Locke saying what he says. It's his 10,000 followers who agree. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more than that. Let's see if there's anybody else on the list that you want to have a look at, or indeed not on the list. So,
okay.
Who have we got here? We haven't talked about Franklin yet.
Franklin Graham. I would put Franklin in the same category as Frank.
You might have seen this.
Oh, here we go.
I don't think it quite fits on the screen, but it's his mobile hospital that he set up in New York.
Oh, yes. I saw he talked about that. So I don't know if I would call him an apologist as much as I would call him an asshole. And of course, because it's Fox, every time I see him on Fox, it's the same song and dance, just like Turek. He's a guilty sinner and he's saved by the blood of, no matter what the topic is, it's the same crap. And I remember he talked about when that Denver baker, I think it was, got sued by the gay couple wanting a cake for their wedding. And Turek came out with, Christians need to get ready for persecution and all this other crap. And he's in one of those one-man armies against the LGBTQ crowd. And that to me is probably what makes him the most disgusting. He can say whatever he wants. Again, if you need to believe in Jesus to make you a better person, I'm not here to take that away from you. But when you start spewing hate like that, that's gross. And it affects all of us.
I couldn't believe it because I read the article and he's actually, anybody that works there, doctors and nurses, he's getting them to sign an agreement that they believe marriage should be between one man and one woman and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Karen Pitts worked at that school. Remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
Where she had to sign the statement of faith as all the other employees about, homosexuality. I mean, I think I said last time, my big sister is a trans woman. And I watched the hell that she had to go through because of assholes like this. The alcohol abuse, the drug abuse, the suicide attempts, all because she was told that it'd be no different. I was actually born left-handed. And I was right on that lip of time to where the moment you pick something up with your left hand, they made you use your right. I remember being screamed at in soccer. Every time I would do a goal kick, they could tell and my coach would scream at me to use my right leg. Now that's just being left-handed. Imagine your entire life being told your nature is gross. Simply you who you are is, and if there's a Christian listening who, if they watch this, they'll sit here and do the same line that, all sin is bad. It's like, bullshit. We allow, up until 4 years ago, if you got in jail for murdering someone, we would allow you to get married. So don't tell me all sin's the same. If you got out of jail for stealing, Michael Vick got out for lying to the feds about killing dogs. He can get married. My big sister, who's a workaholic, who pays more in property taxes than all the churches in America times 10, she couldn't get married. So no, don't tell me that all sin is equal. Right? So you tell someone that they are trash for simply being who they are. You cannot measure that damage. So I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I think that the LGBTQI thing is just down to a couple of lines in the Bible, a few verses in the Bible that they jump on, but there's lots of verses in the Bible which they no longer jump on. So it's cherry picking the things that they're going to get themselves in a tiz about.
Oh yeah. But I mean, isn't that the Bible in general? You can find a verse in Genesis that says you should only drink red wine. And then you go to Ecclesiastes, and it will say you should only drink rosé and white wine. And so you can find, I mean, I think you've probably even seen it. There's a diagram with those really thin red lines that points to every single biblical contradiction in those 66 books. And it's incredible. So yeah, you can sit here and talk about Leviticus and, you know, they've committed an abomination, their blood should be on their own hands. And, that to me is why the secular worldview, humanism, at least in this case for me, is superior. I get to make my own calls, and you'll never guess what. They end up being usually pretty good. And when I fuck up, it's on me. I don't get to go to a book and say, well, the book told me to. If I screw up, it's on me and I get to learn. Versus people who follow the Bible word for word, at least they say they do. You can point out how they're wrong and they will still hold on to that book like it's gospel. All pun intended.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, as you often do.
Well, thank you.
Let's have a look at somebody else.
All right, let's take a look. Who's next on the human dartboard?
So we haven't talked about Kent, and we haven't talked about Cameron.
Why don't we do Kent Hovind? All right. So my issue with Kent. Oh man, where do you start with Kent? You know what? Kent and the Australian dude with the ugly beard.
Ken
Ham. My problem with those guys, I mean, other than the fact that they're liars, they're peddling. Oh man, they're just peddling some bullshit. So again, if you need to pull up to the dining room table, and if you need your spiritual nourishment, knock yourself out. Dine on all the Jesus meat and God juice you want. Knock yourself out. But when science has trumped what you believe to be true about your Bible, let it go. Let it go. And so I've actually had people tell me, why don't we teach the controversy? And not even as a scientist, I'm like, because there isn't one. Like again, we don't debate on whether storks deliver babies or women deliver babies. We don't debate that. So, and we also don't debate evolution. We don't debate whether dinosaurs were real. And so Ham and Hovind, they peddle this bullshit, which contradicts actual science. And I actually have a huge problem with that. I mean, I'm all for kind of personal liberties. And if you want to go to a Christian school, pray before lunch and math class, go ahead. But you should still teach actual science, and those two morons don't. Again, if you think Jesus makes you a better person, then please keep believing that. But there was no ark. That is an impossible story. Hovind, Dr. Dino and all this other crap, he's lying to children. And that truly bothers me. It really does.
Yeah, me too. So I watched a debate with Kent Hovind yesterday, and I wish I could remember the name of the young lady he debated. She's been on with Aaron Ra on his channel a couple of times recently.
Yeah, she's from Dogma Debate. Smalley, Aaron Ra, and this is going to bother me, but I know exactly she's a paleontologist.
I'm going to find the debate and I'll put it in the description box of this video underneath to point people to it. And she absolutely schooled him. But Hovind never learns anything. No matter how often he's told it, he never actually learns. And one of the things he kept coming up with again and again and again was science has not disproven anything in the Bible. And I would have said that anything in the Bible that's in any way testable has been disproved by science.
See, that's that. I go back to my original analogy. We don't debate people who think that storks deliver babies. I think we need to get to a point where we no longer give people like that a platform. Now, again, if you want to talk about whether there's a God or not, line up the debate. But there's no reason for an actual scientist to share space with someone like a Hovind or a Ham, who, again, just like Sean Carroll, who sat there, a physicist, who told William Lane Craig exactly why his argument was wrong, and he refused to rehabilitate his argument. There's just no talking to people like that, which to me is another form of lying. If you've been told the truth, and you can go research it on your own to validate what was told to you, and you don't do it, and you still hold on to the same bullshit, you're lying. You are lying.
The last person I had on my little list, I know there's lots and lots more, was Cameron Bertuzzi. I'm not sure if you've come across him, Capturing Christianity.
I have. That guy, he's kind of a combination of all of them. I've heard him use a little bit of the precept stuff, the anti-science stuff, and I remember listening to, actually I think you had the thumbnail up, where he was responding to him at Meta's like 25 questions response. And one of them was healing amputees.
Yep.
Stop it. Right? Stop it. Again, if you need a Jesus to be a better person, then by all means believe in your Jesus, or Vishnu, or Thor, or Odin. But when science takes your argument and spanks it, let it go. Right? You know what it reminds me of? There was a lady that I talked to, and for whatever reason, it's always breast cancer. But she said she felt a lump. It was breast cancer. She prayed. She no longer has breast cancer. And she just wouldn't let it go. And I said this on another interview, and it's like, that officially makes you the most selfish person on the planet. If you have the magic incantation to cure breast cancer, why aren't you doing it? If you can cure, I don't know, amputeeism, if you can help someone not be an amputee, why are you not presenting to the medical community? Right? I told Ronaldo this the other day, every teenager is an investigative reporter, right? This thing's more powerful than the machines we used to send people in the moon in the 60s. These miraculous claims of limbs being grown back, why are they never recorded? You could change the world for the better tonight. And so just let it go. And that was my big thing with Cameron, because that's what I've always seen, the whole amputee thing. Stop it. Again, if your belief in Jesus makes you better, go ahead. But when science dunks on your beliefs, let that part go and just hold on to the Jesus stuff. But I would still taste Cameron if I could.
I'm hoping to have Jackson Wheat on perhaps tomorrow, but certainly sometime this week. And Jackson jumps all over Cameron when he comes out with nonsense. So I think we'll have a good talk about Cameron there. There was a tweet that he did yesterday, and it was just, again, it was another statement that he tried to make into a syllogism, but the premises were just absolute nonsense, as they often are. And then he makes whatever conclusion he wants to get from them. And Jackson jumped all over him before I had a chance. So we may talk about that tomorrow a little bit.
My the one thing I remember about Jackson the most was he was interviewing SJ. And I learned early on, like most of us the hard way, that as long as someone claims Christianity, she will defend them to the moon and back. And Jackson asked her about faith healing. I remember that. And the only correct thing to say about faith healing is that it is garbage. It is bullshit. When your kid has 103-degree temperature and it's bleeding from their eyes, go to the doctor. Again, pray in the back of the ambulance, but go to the doctor. SJ's return to that was, she prefers Western medicine, but she wouldn't fault anyone for faith healing or trying faith healing. And it's like, then you can't be reached. And he handled it actually pretty good. It was kind of a very uncomfortable, okay. But yeah, I mean, he's infinitely more qualified than I am to, bash that topic. But I would like to hear what he has to say about someone like Cameron or anyone else making scientific claims.
Well, so Robert, I'm cognizant of your time and the fact that we probably ought to wrap up at this stage. It's been great having your thoughts on these apologists, and I'm thinking that there's another session in this, or at least one more session, where we maybe look at some of our favorite counter apologists and some of the people that influenced you in your journey.
Would love to.
So I'll get in touch with you on DM and we'll set something up.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks very much, my friend.
Of course, anytime.